Hi, this is Zakaboo69, and today we're going to be talking about my new amp. It's a Marshall Valve State VS100. I had to unfortunately get rid of my crate Stealth. It had a whole myriad of problems. Basically, it blew up on me 2 times. Third time I gave it to the amp tech and it blew up on him, so no more dealing with that amp. Just too many problems. But I've completely changed my rig. I got a brand new cab. It's a Red Bear cab. They're a Russian company. The cab has 2 Clelstion G12 T75s and 2 Clelstion Heritage 65. So basically it sounds like a Marshall JCM 800 cab, essentially, but a little bit more girthier because it's made out of a thicker wood. But let's show you the head. This is my valve state. 3 channels, clean, overdrive 1, overdrive 2. It's kind of like a solid state sounding JCM 800, similar preamp tone, except you got the solid state power, which is actually, I prefer it for the style of music I play. It gives me a tighter, heavier response, but you still get that nice Marshall preampy kind of gain, which is cool. So enough with the chatter. We're gonna just step right into a demo. We're gonna go to the clean channel and we're going to put all the EQs at 12 o'clock, and this is the clean. And the amp's also got 2 channels of reverb for clean and dirty. And let's throw on some verbiage too. Well, let's do dry and then we'll do some verbiage. But here we go. This is the amp's clean. Flat basically. Now let's turn on the tone shift. It sounds like a mid booster. And that now without. Got more of a scoop sound when you turn it off. Just throwing some verb on about 12 o'clock. It's natural spring, so it's not like your newer Marshalls that use that digital reverb. This is real analog reverb. Now with the tone shift and some verbiage. Okay, and let's crank the EQs a bit up to about 3/4, all of them. This would be the bass, treble, and mid. Okay, and there's no tone shift on this, and I'll show you with and without. Now with the tone shift on. And now we turn the tone shift off. Tone shift back on, and then we're going to dial the EQs up even further. Clean channel really comes to life when you got that tone shift on. So I might make note of that because I've never really used it before. I didn't know what it did. EQ's dimed out on the clean. Here we go. Tone shift in, EQ's dimed. Let's crank the Verb to about 3/4. And now without the tone shift. Okay, we'll turn the Verb off. Okay. Well, that's basically the clean channel. It does actually crunch if you turn it all the way up, but I'm not going to do that because this amp's 100 watts. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I live in a residential area. I'm not going to turn this all the way up. Okay, we're going to go to overdrive 1. And we're going to have the EQs and the gain on 12 o'clock to get you kind of a neutral setting. Overdrive 1 really has that JCM 800-y kind of crunch to it. So here we go. We're going to overdrive 1. Remember, that's just a flat setting. You got your gain pretty much in the middle. You got your EQs in the middle, so you're not really getting a whole lot of tonal variance. So let's bump up some of the EQs. Let's crank the treble a bit. Dial up the mids. I'm kind of dialing them all up together in the bass. Here we go. Now you get a little bit more tonal variation. Not bad. Now we want to start turning the gain up to about 3/4 so it can really start growing some balls, and you get more of a kind of that 80s Iron Maiden-y kind of tone. Let's turn the gain full tilt. Let's have the EQs dimed out to really just thicken up the sound. So here you go. I talked about how we have dirty reverb. I'm really not going to demonstrate that because honestly it sounds better on the clean. The reverb on the dirty just kind of gets a little muddy in the way of the sound, but I mean that's why we got an effect so we can, you know, run chorus delay and turn it on and off as you please. The reverb, unfortunately, if it's on, it's on. If it's off, it's off. But pretty much that's overdrive 1 fully gained out. One thing I will admit about this amp, you have to have it semi-loud to get it to actually distort more, because that's just the way it's designed. We got a power dimension button, but honestly it doesn't sound very good. It's supposed to attenuate your power a little bit, but it scoops a lot of your sound, so I'm not going to demonstrate that because it just doesn't sound very good. But here we go. The volume is slightly turned up a little bit more. This would be our overdrive 1. That's overdrive 1. Now let's go to overdrive 2. Once again, everything's going back to 12 o'clock, including the gain. What's cool about overdrive 2 is you got a 4-band EQ. You got a contour, a bass, a middle, and a treble. What the contour does, it's either a mid sweep or a mid boost. You can boost your mids or you can sweep them all the way out, which kind of sounds like balls, but hey, some people like to do that. Or if you put it on 12 o'clock, it doesn't affect your mid-range at all. So right now, everything is set to 12 o'clock. This is overdrive 2. It's kind of gainier, but it's thicker. I wouldn't call it more distortion, but thicker distortion. It sounds kind of like that hot rodded JCM 800 tone, but definitely modded. It's got a better bass response. It's like if you were to take the 800 and mod it or something, like give it more bass, give it a thicker gain circuit. This is what you get out of overdrive 2. It's more of a modern metal sound. Channel 1 is more of your classic Marshall tone. Overdrive 2 is more like your hot rodded Marshall tone. So here we go. This will be overdrive 2. Tell it's got modern written all over it. Okay, let's mess with these EQs. Let's turn the treble and the bass and the mid up. Right now I'm not going to mess with the contour. I'll show you that in a minute. The gain is still going to stay the same. So here we go. Okay, let's throw in 3/4 gain. Let's hear what that sounds like. You get a nice death metal sound out of this. Now let's turn the gain all the way up. And now you have a full mounting amount of distortion just coming right at you. You got a really thick, heavy tone. Here we go. Okay, let's crank those EQs, and then I'm going to show you what the mid-range sweeper does in a minute. Okay, EQs cranked, gain cranked. Thing's got some balls, let me tell you. Okay, let's scoop those mids. We're going to turn it up to 3/4. Here we go. Okay, now let's scoop them all the way, which I think is kind of a stupid idea, but I'm just letting you know what it sounds like. You can make up your own mind. Okay, let's go the opposite spectrum. Let's go 1/4 of the way on the contour, which basically means your mids are like crazy. Here we go. And now all the way. Even that doesn't sound very good. You got to find a nice in between. You know, you can't have too much or too less. Now let's dial in my tone. Just basically bass in mid-range turns about 8, treble cranked, contour turned to about 1/4, so the mids are very, very boosted, not sweeped. I do the opposite, I do a mid boost. Okay, this is my sound. is the sound of my amp. That's a Marshall VS100. It's a killer sounding amp. It's a hybrid. What I mean by that is it does have a tube in its preamp section. It's more or less in the input stage, so your preamp tube is overdriving your op amps and your LED diodes. It's like having kind of a tube screamer, literally, inside of your amp. So some of your gain does come from the 12AX7, but I hate to break it to you, most of your gain is solid state distortion in here. It is what it is, but still, it's a killer sounding amp. I'm very fond of it. I've had it for about 6 months almost. It's very reliable. I highly recommend it. You can get it off eBay or Craigslist for like maybe 230 bucks. It's pretty cheap. I saw the 8100, which is the precursor to this amp, the one that Chuck Schuldiner used, which the 8100 and the VS100 are about the same thing. I saw one at Guitar Center used for 100 bucks. So I mean, these amps are around. You just gotta look them up. I think they're a little bit more ballsier than the MGs, although I will be doing in the near future an MG 100 versus a valve state shootout. But anyways, thank you. Bye.